And then I come to why we formed Apnifft, because we have had so many people join us. We formed Apnifft because of a document called the High-Level Panel Report on Illicit Financial Flows, which was commissioned by United Nations Economic Commission on Africa, which was chaired by former President Thabo Mbeki, and it composed of a team of experts all over Africa, accountants, economists, politicians, lawyers, to quantify for the very first time illicit financial flows in Africa. It was a landmark because IFFs have been happening in Africa since colonization. IFFs are synonymous with the introduction of capitalism, which was imperialism for us at the time in Africa. But they could not go that far. That's like centuries. So they only studied 30 years, and it's not even 30 years, it's 28 years. I just like round figures. They studied 1980 to 2008, but I always say 2010 to have a round figure. And the figure that they found is what scared us. In that meeting, we were 4 countries. It was Zimbabwe, South Africa, Uganda, and Malawi, members of parliament. And the report that was tabled to us was that in a span of that 30 years, my chief whip, we had lost an estimate of 1.4 US trillion dollars from illicit financial flows. Now, I don't know if you can imagine that amount of money. I can't. Listen, I'm not a numerical person. If you had to write that in figures, I don't think I would even be able to say it. You have to write it in words for me to even be able to read it. We got really shocked. But he then played a game with us and he asked us, of this 1.4 US trillion dollars, how much do you think is direct African government corruption? And this is very crucial for members of parliament who are sitting here in this room. Of the 4 countries of us that were there, none of us guessed less than 70%. Listen, I had just shouted across the South African parliament for Zuma to pay back the money, and it became a catchphrase. And all of us, we thought, no, it's over 70%. And Tafadzwa said to us, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, it's only 5%. 65% is corporate crimes. Tax evasion, that's what we are about today. I think as presentations come, we'll come to understand those who don't. Profit shifting, price misinvoicing, N. And then he said criminality, 30%. Literally, I'm very emotional, those who've dealt with me. I ran out of that room in Nairobi and I went and cried because I asked myself, why have I been duped so much by white monopoly capital media? Why have they convinced me that Africa is not developing because our government steals too much? But the actual stealer is behind the curtain. We don't see them, the white-collar crime. We then decided as the 4 countries, we need to form a network of MPs. And Kenya was not there, even if we were in Kenya. The next meeting when we were in Malawi, then Kenya was with us, Honorable Okoth. And then we launched this network. I think it's important for me to actually ask whoever is a representative from these countries, you need to be known, the founding members. Whoever is here from South Africa, because it puts an extra burden on you not to drop the baton. From South Africa, from Malawi, from Kenya, from Zimbabwe, and from Uganda, please stand. These are the founding 5 countries. Please stand, whoever you are, as long as you are from that country. South Africans, you need to stand. South Africa is amongst them. Hello, you are not South Africans. So it says to me, for these 5 countries, you have a huge, thank you so much, you have a huge responsibility on your shoulders to ensure that it does not die. Especially for you Kenyans, because you need to pick up the spear that Kenneth Okoth passed on. You need to pick up that spear and ensure. Why and how did we envisage at the time? We had a very important phrase which I see is getting challenged. Please let us not fall into that trap. We had said, serving members and former members. I think only MPs know and understand that when you are an honorable member, you're an honorable member. Whether you have stopped or you have not stopped, you become an honorable member. And we put in that phrase because we understood the turnaround time of African politics. But we also understood that when we are asking MPs to challenge, some of them will be expelled by their parties or parliaments. What then if there is no net to catch them? But we also put in a nice rider that I like. We said, for you to be a former member, you should have joined us when you were serving, for us to see that we are able to take a stand. So as we stand today, we actually have more serving members than we have former members, but we do have former members. We also did not want this to be controlled by any parliament, especially for our members of parliament who are in opposition. See, countries are not the same. In South Africa, even as opposition, you can bulldoze your way. But in some countries, you can't. So we did not want to locate it at parliament having the ultimate say, because parliament will give us who parliament wants to give us. I mean, I've been given, I will not mention the parliament, I've been given people by a parliament that came to a meeting and sat for 3 days and said nothing, and came back and did not even uphold anything. So that parliament knew when they gave me those people that they are giving me dead wood in English. That will not advance anything. So may we please, for the steering committee that's coming up, not fall into the trap of saying we want parliamentary recognition. Of course we want it, but we don't want parliamentary control of Apnifft. This is not the Pan-African Parliament. This is Apnifft. Members come here out of their own volition. We should never lose that. For between 2015, I think, and around 2022, Honorable Abisai, the concentration was more numeric growth. We wanted to replicate as many Apnifft national caucuses as there can be. And we defined the national caucus. We toyed and fought about this. We defined the national caucus as 10 members. I remember I'm the one who said, I'm sorry, you can be 5 in a parliament and make more noise than 10 people. So I said, we cannot define a caucus by numbers. We need to define a caucus by the work that that caucus is doing. It could be 4 members that do better job than a caucus of 30 people. So again, for the coming steering committee, please do not lose that. But between 2015 and around 2022, we were fighting to just make sure that there's representativity of Apnifft in every African parliament. Around 2022, which is 3 years ago, we then decided, okay, now we need to start looking at qualitative growth. The members are there, but what are the members doing? Which then led us to something which is becoming the job of the upcoming council: consolidation of regional representation. See, Africa is a very unique continent. I know that for Americans, when you come from South Africa, they tell you, oh, I have a friend who lives in Nairobi, do you know him? You just told them you're from Joburg, because Africa is a country for them. But we know, us who live here, that we have regional dynamics, and sometimes they are real. So regional consolidation of Apnifft is a task for the upcoming council. It's there, but it's weak. And regions can come together sometimes to fight issues better than a nation. So for me, that's the first thing. The second thing is that we require national consolidation. Yes, we are represented, I think, in 39, if not 40 countries now, but we need to know in every country how many members do we have exactly. It doesn't matter if there are 3 or 4, but we need to know that from the top of our heads, Deputy. We need to know how many members. If they tell you Chad, you need to know we have 10. If they tell you Lesotho, you need to know we have none. If they tell you Botswana, you need to know we have none. So we need that statistical consolidation. And I think one thing we haven't done in the last 10 years was to recognize the intersectionality of illicit financial flows and tax injustice. Illicit financial flows affect women. Because illicit financial flows and tax injustice lead to less investment in public services. When there's less investment in public services, it is the women who bear the brunt. If you take health, for example, women do a lot of unpaid care work. It's a burden on women because the public hospitals are not functional. If the education system is not functional, it is women again who bear the brunt. So we have not, in the last 10 years, migrated to really cut out a clean intersectionality of that and gender equity. But then again, there's something that scares me so much, ED of Tax Justice Network Africa. The latest Africa Barometer report says, and hold on to your chairs now, I was reading it with Honorable Abisai, East Africa Regional Coordinator. She couldn't even read out that year. Africa, at the rate at which we are going, will achieve gender equality in parliaments in the year 2100. Yeah. 2100. She couldn't even read it out. And please understand, we are talking equality, that's just numbers. We are not talking equity, which is the structural things that bar women from participating. So if just getting numbers right is another 85 years from now, the Gen Zs currently, who are 20-something, some of them might also even be dead, then what are we doing, honorable members? So for me, it's an area that has to be investigated. We also have not done enough work. Because remember, this is a volunteer platform. We also have not done enough work, and the regional coordinator of Southern Africa, Senator Nxumalo, and Honorable Zungula, you touched on it. We haven't done enough work on unity. We have replicated in Apnifft what the AU is struggling with. Lusophone, Francophone, Anglophone, I hate those terms with a passion. I don't know how Africans become Francophone. How do you even refer to another African as Francophone? They speak French. They were colonized by French. That doesn't make them Francophone. I'm not Commonwealth. Please don't call me that. Because I don't even know what is common in the wealth. Britain is still the richest of the countries in the so-called Commonwealth. So we have not worked enough. It's an area we need to go into as Apnifft. Because Apnifft is volunteers, the spirit is willing. It is something we can fight in Apnifft. We need to find a better way. And I think I am calling all these things because I'm coming to another crucial matter for African legislatures. And I know this is about tax, but for me, these issues are intersectional. You know why Tax Justice Network Africa or ATAF, African Forum, what are they called? Oh, African Forum on Tax Administration. Do you know why they can't get us all to one tax law, despite the hard work they are doing? Because the AU is the AU legislative body. It's supposed to, but we know it's not, because it's not retributive. What does the AU do when member states don't listen? But do you know where retribution could have come from? From the Pan-African Parliament. But the Pan-African Parliament itself is a suggestive body. So for me, it is only here at Apnifft that we can keep pushing and saying, we can never have one tax law if we don't make the Pan-African Parliament a legislative body. We can never effectively and efficiently fight against illicit financial flows if we don't make the Pan-African Parliament legislative. Because if we do that, then our regional bodies are also forced to be legislative. So for as long as this fight is willy-nilly, I mean, we are volunteers here. It looks like they are volunteers at the AU too. They are volunteers at Pan-African Parliament too. Okay, so who's the legislator? So it's something worth taken by the next steering committee. I think for me then, with those issues, the next steering committee has its hands full. And I am appealing for their support from the members present here. So when we do go and elect people, let us again not fall into the trap of they speak big English, or they speak big French, or they speak big Portuguese, because that's also sometimes what we use to elect our people. We need to ensure those people have the time for Apnifft. This work, I repeat, is not paid work. It is work you find time for within your busy schedule. It is work you fight with your chief whip for, because Parliament is opening tomorrow and I'm missing budget reviews. And I'm sitting here after it was closed for 2 weeks. So you need to make sure the willing are leading us into the next 10 years and into the next decade. With these words, all the best. Enjoy Johannesburg. I hope you will not end up in, we call it white man's land, because the women are also very few there. I hope you will not end up only in the white man's land called Sentin. I hope you'll find time to go to Soweto and connect with the struggle of Africans. Thank you so much. Amandla! 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 Long live the spirit of Winnie Madikizela Mandela, the icon of anti-apartheid struggle. Long live. Long live the spirit of Winnie Madikizela Mandela, the icon of the anti-apartheid struggle. Long live. Down with tax evasion, down. Down with illicit financial flows, down. Down with poverty in Africa, down. Forward with united members of parliament across language in Africa, fighting against illicit financial flows, forward. Forward with united members of parliament across Africa, fighting against poverty, forward. Forward with members of African parliament who are responsible to their constituencies more than they are to their own parties, forward. Mandla.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Tshabalala, that I call in our private conversation.